With mortgage rates in the low sixes, a 50-year mortgage being discussed, and the government shutdown that is hopefully going to end in the next day or so, how is all of this impacting our Northern Virginia market? We're hearing a lot of noise out there. And so we're going to dive deep and figure out what's really happening and how is all of these things impacting our Northern Virginia market. We'll talk about prices, we'll talk about the inventory, we'll talk about what the buyer behavior is like as we are moving into the middle of our fall buying and selling cycle. And for my mortgage history buffs, I know you're out there, I'm going to share with you a little bit about how did we get to this point of having a 30-year mortgage, and was there any person that was very helpful in getting the American people to buy into understanding how a 30-year mortgage will help them. Let's dive into your November update. And if you like the video, give us a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and that way you'll always be notified of our next video on this channel. Let's talk about the median sold price for Fairfax County, Arlington County, and City of Alexandria. The median sold price for single-family homes in Fairfax County was $940,000. Resulting in a 4.4% increase year over year. The median sold price for single-family homes in Arlington County was $1,275,000, resulting in a 6.3% increase year over year. The median sold price for single-family homes in the City of Alexandria was $1,299,000, resulting in a 14.8% increase year over year. Before you think the entire Northern Virginia market is red hot, I want to show you by quarters what the last 2 years have looked like, and maybe this will help us understand the seasonal fluidness of the buying and selling market. Check out this graph. Starting in Q1 of 2023, 2024, and 2025, Arlington and Fairfax County buyers and sellers experience the typical higher demand, which creates prices to increase. This is due to job relocations, families desiring to move to different schools to line up with the school calendar, military PCSing, move-up buyers, and sellers wanting to move out of the area. City of Alexandria is experiencing bigger price swings because of the type of home that's being sold. Look, we have homes in, let's just say, the Delray, the Rosemont area, and they can be turn of the century. It can be 1910, 1925, and they are historical and they're in demand. And then your next door neighbor could have knocked down the home and rebuilt a custom home that is beautiful, but it's going to get a different price point and different type of buyer for that area. So you can see that in these kind of areas, you can have a home that is priced modestly at 1.5 and then another one be selling at 2.2, 2.3 million dollars, be your next door neighbor. With these kind of demands and these kind of price swings, you can understand that when we look at the data, you can see it go up and down. And that's just relatively understanding what type of home is being sold. I mean, I understand this area that it draws a lot more attention. It's close to metro stations. There's the DCA airport. There's also the Pentagon and also getting over into DC. You've got the feel of Old Town Alexandria, and not to mention Delray itself. I mean, it's like a Main Street hub. There's great shops, local markets and restaurants. It's just a place that people want to live. And so it draws people there that are in demand to have kind of a lifestyle. So I'm not surprised to see that the prices are going up and down. And that's just because the type of home that is on the market at that time can be stellar, 1925, completely updated, or it can be a brand new build, custom traditional home that is in demand as well for those type of buyers. Let me also mention that in that graph that I just showed you over the 2 years and the seasonality of buying and selling, in Q3 and Q4 it leveled out or it slightly went down. That is happening again. Now, some of these homes, and especially over the last 2 or 3 weeks that I'm seeing and showing in the market, is that a few of these homes are marketed as is, meaning that the seller is not going to do anything. They just want to get the house sold. This is not because they're behind in payments. It's not because they've lost a job. It's actually a season of life. This time they may have been holding on that property for 30, 40 years, and they just didn't take care of the property the way that they wanted to in the last few years. So things have gotten in less than the best condition. So you may say that, well, look, the water heater is from 1997. It worked fine for these people. Or the roof is on this last leg? Well, it worked just fine and didn't have any leaks for that current owner. So they're being marketed as is, and the prices are significantly lower than what they would be if they had everything improved. So this does strike a good time and opportunity for those buyers that are willing to invest in a property that fits all of their criteria, maybe location and schools and close to their work. This can be an opportunity of getting those properties at a reduced price, and you, as the purchaser and owner, updating the house how you want to and getting rolling up your sleeves and creating some sweat equity. That can happen in this type of market near November and December of 2025. On the flip side, I have talked to so many sellers over the last 6 to 8 weeks that are doing all the improvements right now. They're doing the painting, they're updating the lighting, they're updating all those little features that a buyer would be in very demand for come to the springtime of buying a house. So there are plenty of people out there that are getting their homes ready for the market, and they're going to fetch a stronger demand for the home and potentially get a higher price with less days on market and even a stronger offer overall. Let's talk about those median days on market. The median days on market for Fairfax County in October was 14 days. The median days on market for Arlington was 8 days. And the median days on market for the City of Alexandria was 6 days. These numbers tell me that we're still in a relatively strong market. But what I'm curious about is in October, let's look at the data that rolls out next month. October, we had a government shutdown, and those numbers aren't actually showing up yet. Remember, if they're closed in October, that means that they're probably under contract in September. The government shutdown happened in October, and it went very long, one of the longest on record, the longest on record. So we need to just watch and see how are those numbers impacting the sales this next month, and I'll show you all that data in 4 weeks. Now I can hear you now, many of you going, wait, Tim, I walk my neighborhood and I've seen this house over here on Main Street be on the market for 45 days. How are you telling me that some of these median days on market are under 20 days? And let me talk about that. So let's go ahead and dive into a few of these zip codes to see what's happening at that level. As you can see from this graph, I randomly chose a few zip codes to show the difference between the county level and the zip code. The median days on market for 22032 in Fairfax County was 30 days. In 22203 in Arlington County, it was 7 days. In 22306 in Fairfax County, it was 31 days. In 22181 in Vienna, which is in Fairfax County, it was 28 days. And in 22301, which is in Delray, Rosemont area of Alexandria, it was 6 days. What this tells me is that the closer in the property is for sale, good condition, draws in a lot of good buyer pool by pricing it correctly, they are in demand and they're getting under contract a lot faster. The further out we go, it's taking longer for those homes to sell. So just be aware of that as you are pricing your house and you're thinking about all the things. And it's going to be very, very important that you are working with a realtor that knows how to watch your local market. Don't look at the big stats all the time because they don't paint the picture of what's happening in your neighborhood. For a buyer, what does this mean? You need to go into those contracts understanding what the dynamics are like for your very hyper-local market. If you're going to be competing on a property in Delray, you probably need to be prepared for how your contract should look for that. Maybe you have to go up in price. Maybe the contract looks like it has conditions that aren't being met, like a home inspection, appraisal, financing, all those things. But you want to make sure that you understand what that all means for you. If you're out in some of the other places, like I mentioned, 22032, you have a little bit of time. Maybe you have more opportunity to negotiate the price, negotiate the terms of the contract. So be aware of that as you are out house hunting this fall of what is going on in your hyper-local micro market. I've got a quick question for you. How did Americans fall in love with the 30-year mortgage? To answer the question, we've got to go way back, all the way back to the Great Depression. At that time, home loans looked very different. They were only 3 to 5 years, maybe a little bit longer. 3 to 5 years for a home loan. And not only that, the consumer had to put 50% down or more to get that house. Now, here's the crazy thing. After that 3 to 5 years, the whole loan balance, like a balloon payment, was needing to be made. And that was causing a lot of stress on home owners. And even Hollywood stars were not insulated from this 3 to 5 year balloon payment. It caused them a lot of stress as well. But there was one performer who was instrumental in helping get the word out to the American public that there may be something to help us out. According to this article from Investopedia, with the need to fund the government's war effort, they began to issue 30-year Liberty bonds. And Charlie Chaplin led the charge to encourage the general public to get comfortable with long-term investing with the 1918 silent movie, The Bond. With Charlie Chaplin and an outstanding marketing effort, the government raised $17 billion, as well as shaped the landscape of long-term holding. Then came the housing collapse of the 1930s. Millions of Americans couldn't refinance, and the system broke down. That's when the federal government stepped in with a brand new idea: create a safety net that would make homeownership more affordable and stable. And Americans were ready for it. In 1934, Franklin D. Roosevelt established the Federal Housing Administration, the FHA. And this helped get us as Americans ready for a 30-year mortgage. They added longer term lending and to the point of where we are today with 30-year mortgages. So you can thank Charlie Chaplin, Franklin D. Roosevelt, and the FHA for helping Americans get out of these risky 3 to 5 year and a balloon payment mortgage to more stable, long-term mortgages. And this happened going all the way to 30 years, as we have seen today. And now here we are nearly a century later, and we have talks about a 50-year mortgage. Now, I have my ideas about this, but I really want to know your thoughts. So if you think this is a good idea, comment below. And if you think this is a terrible idea because of the amount of interest you may be paying or breaking up a payment over 50 years, is this something that we are ready for in our society instead of a 30-year mortgage, which is the max used to? So I think this is something we should talk about, and I'd love to hear your comments below. So how does this history connect to what we're dealing with today in our housing market? We hear all the time, and it's true, affordability. We have an issue here in America with affordability. Higher interest rates, high prices of homes. It's making it very difficult for everyone to purchase a home. And so it's important that everyone is thinking through what they are trying to accomplish when they purchase a house. Maybe they need to change their lifestyle a little bit. Think about where you really live. If you need to extend your commute a little longer, maybe the school district. All of these things are playing into your decision. And so it's going to be very important as you go through this process of looking for a home that you are looking at everything and making sure that this is going to be in your budget, the home's in your budget, and you can stay in there long term. And speaking of staying in your house long term, according to the National Association of Realtors, the average time that someone is staying in their house before they move to the next one is 11 years. That's a long time, especially for the last time they had this analysis, it was around 7 years. So folks are staying in. You can call it the lockdown, staying because the rate is low. Whatever it is, folks are staying in their homes longer than they have been in the past. And with the results from this year's survey, they also found out that people that are buying a house here in 2025, their expectation is to stay in their house for 15 years. So if that's the case, the buyer is considering everything for a long-term hold of their property. We have so many things to unpack every single time I do these monthly housing reports, so I can't wait to share with you what's going to happen in November data or what happened during the government shutdown. Is a 50-year mortgage actually going to happen? And are we going to see an uptick in the 2026 spring market because of the pent-up demand? Until next time.